I will tell you the full story of Moonbreon cards, why they mean so much for the community, why are they so expensive, and at the end of the video we will discuss how should we prepare for the last release of the fan favorite card in Prismatic Evolutions, that will release in January 17th, and how much will this card be worth when the set finally releases. Back in 2001, the Neo Discovery set was released, and one of the strongest chase cards was the Umbreon Holo. This beautiful card featured the fan favorite Evolution by Excellence in front of the moon. The illustration is beautiful and the colors of the moon really enhanced the card. We can see the fusion of the white moon with the black of the night, creating a scale of blues while a holo pattern that looks just amazing. Without knowing it, Wizards of the Coast created one of the most iconic cards of all time, the original Moonbreon, name that would be given to it years after release, and that would mean a lot for the franchise way before they knew it. I'm giving away this Lost Origin booster box at 6,000 subscribers. Like, comment and subscribe to enter. We're so close. 2 years later, we would have a second Holo Umbreon in the set Aquapolis. This set was full of beautiful Gen 1 and Gen 2 Holos, and one of the ones that caught the eye of the people and the most love was once again Umbreon. By a lot of fans, this card is not considered a Moonbreon, but it actually is. Even the moon being far less noticeable this time, it is still on the background of the card, with even its Poképower special ability called Dark Moon. This card is way darker than the last one, and it displays the Umbreon in top of what seems to be a roof of a house or a building. This card looked really great, but it couldn't even compete with some of the following ones. Just 3 months after Aquapolis release, the new set Skyridge was announced. It is one of the best sets of all time, with insane cards inside like the Crystal Charizard and Celebi, and the Holo Evolutions featuring Umbreon once again. It was uncommon that multiple sets had the same chase card back to back, but not only that, this Umbreon card also had a moon behind, making it the third Moonbreon ever released, back to back with the last one too. From all the ones that have been released until now, this is by far my favorite. Apart from being the cutest one, this is the most beautiful colored with the grass and even features its shadows in a majestic way according to the moonlight. The background of the card fuses the colors of a dark sky with the clouds combined with an excellent chosen holo pattern that makes the card look like a beautiful piece of art. In 2005, the set Unseen Forces was released. Even the third generation of the game was already out at this point in time. This set was based on Gen 2 Pokémon. It featured the most iconic Johto Pokémon like Lugia and Ho-Oh, and the starters in their EX versions and even the legendary dogs as gold stars. But when you talk about the second generation of Pokémon, you of course talk about Umbreon. Again, by a lot of fans, this will not be considered a Moonbreon since the moon is not a big part of this card, but to me it is pretty obvious that in the top of the card, the moon is displayed in this beautiful red holo color. And I consider this card the 4th Moonbreon ever released. By the way guys, channel members are now available. You can ask me anything you want by email or on the channel community page, anything about prices, where to find cheap product, whatever you want. You will also get access to cool badges and emojis. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Dark Explorers was a black and white release, and after all these years, they decided to do a small reference to the Moonbreon, with a beautiful uncommon card with Umbreon jumping into a purple color forest with the moon clearly visible on the background. Not being a chase card, it's so hard to call this card a Moonbreon, but it is so cool that they did a reference 7 years after. It was a clear message to the fans that this story was not over yet. We wouldn't see a Moonbreon reference until the Black Star promos of X and Y. But let me tell you, for this not being even a holo card, it is one of the most beautiful cards of this kind I have ever seen. The contrast of the dark in the front part of the image and the moonlight behind is just beautiful. I just love the hand drawing of this card and the lighting on it. It looks just perfect. Same as the X and Y era, a clear reference was done in the Sword and Shield Black Star promos. In the Evolving Skies 3-pack blister, we got an Umbreon as a promo card with the moon in the back. The art of this specific card is not that good as the previous one, but it's still a beloved card that adds a solid value to the 3-pack blister, which is already going for $80. This was just the introduction on what the actual set had inside, since Evolving Skies is the Umbreon set. This set featured 2 different alternative art Umbreon cards. The regular V card featured Moonbreon in the top of the building, looking down at other Pokémons like Pinsir, Flareon and Grimmsnarl. The drawing style of this card really reminds me of the black and white promos, and we can also see the moon behind. The light is just perfect, and the Pokémon itself looks so majestic. What a card. This card had a massive spike in price, and it's going for around $150, which doubles in price when it is graded as a PSA 10. But the real deal of Evolving Skies and the break for Umbreon popularity was the Vmax alternative art. And let me tell you, this is an actual piece of art. The Vmax mechanic made the Pokémon really big in size, and we can see a giant Umbreon on top of a building trying to reach for the moon, as if it was some kind of ball of yarn. Where do I even start? The colors of the sky and the sea, the light interaction they have with the rest of the card, this looks just majestic. It is like the sky and clouds are opening to let the moon shine. The idea is a blast, but the execution more than tops it. The purple light coming from Umbreon's skin looks great too and made this card the modern Moonbreon. This card topped and surpassed a lot of vintage cards and even fan favorite cards like Charizard and Pikachu, which is really impressive. The raw version of this card is going for around $900 and the PSA 10 version is going for more than $1,800, a really impressive mark for a modern card. This card was so desired that made the next Pokémon release, Prismatic Evolutions, make everyone go crazy. But before going for the leaked Moonbreon card coming in January of 2025, I want to quickly mention a small reference to the Moonbreons that appear in Obsidian Flames and Trick or Treat 2024. This is an uncommon card, but to me the references are obvious. We can see our cute little boy sitting on top of a branch with a water pond in the back. We cannot see the moon per se, but we can actually see the beauty of the moonlight reflecting on the water. I think we had to mention this small reference before talking about the next real Moonbreon card. From the next specialty set, Prismatic Evolutions, we have the full-size image of the Moonbreon card in the Japanese version. Just take a look at this masterpiece. It actually looks like a real piece of art. I understand the average Pokémon fan does not like the terrestrialized mechanic, but this is something else. We can see the Pokémon itself being like a glass statue, which looks absolutely insane. The moon on the back is orange, which makes it almost look like a sun instead of a moon, and it looks like from there a beautiful abstract background grows to fill all the card. The color combinations look really good, and I am a personal fan of the rainbow borders in the card introduced 2 sets ago with Stellar Crown. It adds a refreshing point into the new chase cards, and personally I think it makes the cards even more exclusive. The art is quite different, but the trippy background really reminds me of the Giratina alternative art from Lost Origin. It's really hard to predict the price of a card, but I can see that Prismatic Evolution's sealed product is already exploding in price even before release, and that will make opening this set really expensive, which will make the chase cards go for even more than they would normally go for. It would not be weird for me to see this card going for $500 to $1,000 like the Moonbreon from Evolving Skies. Of course, depending on the pull rates and how hard it is to grade as a PSA 10. I think now that we have refreshed the beautiful story of these Pokémon cards that started more than 25 years ago, the desire towards it just makes sense. This is part of the story of Pokémon, the Generation 2 gem, and the strong correlation it has with the moon itself. As it is referred to in a lot of these cards, we are talking about the Moonlight Pokémon, and an already established fan favorite card in the Pokémon TCG. This is the beautiful story of the Moonbreon.